Have you ever wondered why some women, despite outwardly appearing strong and self-assured, carry a hidden sorrow so profound it seems to consume them from within? It's a silent burden, often mistaken for quiet resignation or even disinterest, but beneath the surface lies a pain that love, once a beacon of hope, has transformed into a casket, sealing away their truest selves and the suffering they dare not reveal. This is the tragic paradox of the unspoken agony, a profound emotional exile where the very intimacy that promised solace becomes the wall that isolates. Elara was a weaver of light, or so everyone in the village of Oakhaven believed. Her hands, nimble and artistic, transformed raw wool into tapestries that seemed to hum with the very essence of dawn. Yet, behind her radiant smile, a shadow loomed, woven not from thread but from the tightly coiled memories of a love that had become a gilded cage. She had met Lysander when the world still held the naive promise of endless summers. He was a poet, his words like silken nets, trapping her heart with eloquent verses and grand gestures. He spoke of a shared future painted in hues of passion and understanding, and Elara, starved for a connection that transcended the mundane, believed him with the fierce, unwavering faith of a maiden seeing her destiny unfold. Their courtship was a whirlwind of stolen glances and whispered promises beneath the ancient oak, a dance of two souls seemingly destined to merge. But as the seasons turned, a subtle shift occurred. Lysander's fervent declarations began to overshadow Elara's gentle suggestions. His passion, once a warm embrace, became a suffocating cloak. He admired her artistry, yes, but only when it mirrored his own aesthetic. He celebrated her beauty, but subtly hinted at ways it could be improved to better suit his discerning eye. The first tremor of discord came when Elara began a new tapestry, a vibrant depiction of the wild, untamed forest that bordered Oakhaven, a reflection of her own burgeoning spirit. Lysander, usually so effusive in his praise, regarded it with a cool, appraising gaze. "It lacks refinement, my dear," he'd said, his voice laced with a honeyed disappointment. "Perhaps something more classical, more in line with the elegance of our home." Elara's fingers, accustomed to the free flow of creative expression, faltered. She tried to explain the raw beauty she saw in the wildness, but his dismissive wave silenced her. It was a tiny crack in the dam, almost imperceptible, but the water of self-doubt began to seep in. Over time, these small criticisms became a relentless tide. Her opinions were charming but naive, her desires sweet but impractical. He never overtly forbade her from anything, but his disapproval was a heavier chain than any direct command. He'd sigh dramatically when she spoke of her aspirations beyond their cottage, his silence a more potent rebuke than any shouted argument. He projected his own unfulfilled artistic ambitions onto her, subtly shaping her into the muse he desired, rather than cherishing the artist she was. He spoke of our shared vision, but it was always his vision, wrapped in the deceptive allure of partnership. Elara, desperate to maintain the illusion of their perfect love, began to dim her own light. She started choosing calmer, more subdued colors for her tapestries, mirroring the muted tones of her increasingly quiet spirit. She stopped visiting the wild forest, convinced by Lysander's gentle chiding that it was too rugged for a lady of her delicate sensibilities. She withdrew from her friends, whose spirited conversations seemed to irk Lysander with their unnecessary chatter. Her world, once expansive and vibrant, began to shrink, confined within the four walls of their elegantly furnished cottage and the ever-tightening circle of Lysander's expectations. One winter evening, as a blizzard raged outside, blanketing Oakhaven in a pristine white, Elara found herself staring at an unfinished tapestry. It was a portrait of a solitary hawk, wings spread wide against a stormy sky, a secret act of rebellion, a yearning for flight she dared not voice. Lysander entered the room, his smile as warm as the hearth fire. He saw the hawk and his brow furrowed. "Still this morbid fascination with the wild?" he mused, a hint of something sharp beneath the soft words. "Our home is a sanctuary, my dear, not a wilderness. Perhaps a gentle dove or a blooming rose would be more fitting for such a delicate hand." He gently took the tapestry from her, folding it neatly and placing it on a high shelf, out of sight. His touch was soft, his words seemingly kind, yet the act felt like a burial. A profound ache settled in Elara's chest, a pain that had no name, no wound to show. It was the slow, agonizing erosion of her soul, the quiet suffocation of her very essence. She wanted to scream, to weep, to tear the tapestry from his hands and declare her fierce, untamed spirit. But the words caught in her throat, choked by years of unspoken disappointments and the fear of shattering the fragile peace they had constructed. She simply nodded, a ghost of a smile on her lips, and turned to prepare his tea. The hawk remained on the shelf, a silent testament to the parts of her Lysander could not, or would not, see, and the sorrow she could never share. Her pain was a private funeral, held deep within the chambers of her heart, where love had become the casket and her true self the silent inhabitant. The archetype embodied by Elara is profoundly that of the sacrificed maiden, or in Jungian terms, one whose anima is being suppressed and distorted by an overbearing external influence. She initially sought connection and partnership, yet found herself ensnared in a relationship that subtly, yet relentlessly, demanded the sacrifice of her authentic self for the sake of perceived harmony. Her journey reveals a painful process of ego projection, where Lysander, unable to confront his own shadowed aspects of control and insecurity, projected his idealized image of a woman onto Elara, effectively stifling her individuation. The theme here is the insidious nature of emotional suffocation disguised as love, where the desire for external validation leads to the abandonment of inner truth. This character's struggle illuminates the silent agony of those who, fearing discord or loss, allow their unique spirit to be diminished, their creativity muted, and their very voice silenced. For those who find themselves in the echoing silence of Elara's experience, trapped in a love that feels more like a beautifully crafted cage, understand this. The pain you cannot share is the very pain that demands to be acknowledged. You are not alone in this unseen struggle. Your true self, your authentic voice, is not a burden to be hidden, but a light to be unleashed. The first step towards reclaiming your power lies in the courageous act of shadow work, confronting the fear of being truly seen, the fear of disappointing others, and the deep-seated belief that your worth is tied to external approval. Remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Epictetus reminds us that no man is free who is not master of himself. You hold the key to your own liberation. Begin by giving voice to the whispers of your soul, however quiet they may be. Reconnect with the passions and interests that once ignited your spirit, those elements of your being that were subtly discouraged or dismissed. Start small. A secret drawing, a stolen moment of song, a quiet journaling of your deepest thoughts and feelings. This is not rebellion against another, but a sacred act of return to yourself. Recognize that true love does not demand erasure. It celebrates expansion. Your journey towards wholeness, your individuation, requires you to honor all facets of your being, even the wild, untamed parts. The casket can only hold what you permit it to. Break free from the gilded chains by acknowledging the exquisite pain within, for in that acknowledgement lies the seed of profound healing and the powerful rebirth of your authentic self. Have you ever witnessed a woman, seemingly vibrant and accomplished, yet she appears to be perpetually bracing for an invisible blow, her spirit flinching at the slightest shift in the emotional atmosphere around her? This subtle, pervasive tension is often the hallmark of a deeper wound, a constant performance of strength to mask the profound agony of a love that has morphed into a site of perpetual emotional warfare. It is the insidious pain of living with the constant threat of invalidation, where every interaction is a tightrope walk over a chasm of unspoken expectations and unacknowledged wounds, trapping her in a state of hypervigilance. Genevieve moved through the rarefied air of the art world with an effortless grace that belied the relentless storm within her. She was a curator of rare talent, her eye for beauty and historical significance unparalleled. Yet her every success felt shadowed by the towering presence of Victor, her partner of a decade. Victor was a charismatic architect, lauded for his groundbreaking designs and sharp intellect. He was also a master of the subtle critique, the backhanded compliment, and the strategic withdrawal of affection. Their initial connection had been electric, a meeting of two sharp minds that promised intellectual sparring and passionate debate. Genevieve had been drawn to his powerful presence, his unwavering confidence, seeing in him a partner who would challenge her to ascend to new heights. She had mistaken his intensity for depth, his possessiveness for devotion. The erosion began subtly, like grains of sand shifting beneath a grand edifice. Genevieve would excitedly share a new acquisition for an exhibition, a piece she had painstakingly researched and championed. Victor would listen, his gaze unwavering, then deliver a quiet, almost imperceptible scoff. "Interesting choice, my dear," he'd muse, though one might argue its true significance is somewhat overstated. Or, after a particularly successful presentation she had given, he would pat her hand and offer, "You handled yourself adequately for a woman, though perhaps a touch more gravitas next time." He never directly dismissed her, never raised his voice, but his words, delivered with a detached air of superior judgment, were far more potent than any outright condemnation. They were designed to chip away at her conviction, to sow seeds of doubt in her own discerning eye, her own intelligent mind. Genevieve, initially bewildered, began to second-guess herself. She'd meticulously re-examine every decision, every argument, searching for the flaw Victor implied. She found herself preempting his critiques, tailoring her opinions, even her very aesthetic, to align with his unspoken preferences. When she curated an exhibition of avant-garde sculptures, Victor remained conspicuously silent for days, his disapproval a palpable shroud in their shared home. The silence was agonizing, far worse than any direct argument. Desperate for his approval, for a return to the warmth of their earlier days, Genevieve eventually suggested rearranging some pieces, or even removing a few that seemed to particularly displease him. He'd simply nod, a knowing glint in his eye, and the oppressive silence would lift, temporarily. This became a dance of constant appeasement. She found herself monitoring his moods, adjusting her voice, her gestures, her very breathing, to avoid triggering his subtle disapproval. The vibrant, confident woman who once debated intellectual giants began to shrink, her inner world a landscape of anxious anticipation. The emotional abuse escalated in its insidiousness. Victor would frequently invite esteemed colleagues and patrons to their home, showcasing Genevieve not as his equal, but as an extension of his own cultivated world. He would praise her in front of them, but with a faint, almost imperceptible sneer in his eyes that only Genevieve could detect, a private humiliation. Genevieve is exceptionally gifted at organizing, he'd state, emphasizing organizing, as if to diminish her curatorial expertise. He would often tell anecdotes about her, subtly twisting her earnestness into naivety or her passion into overzealousness, eliciting polite, knowing smiles from their guests, leaving Genevieve feeling exposed and ridiculed without a single direct insult having been uttered. Once, during a prestigious gallery opening, Genevieve was approached by a renowned critic who lauded her recent work. As she engaged in an animated discussion, Victor appeared, placing a possessive hand on her lower back, his grip tightening imperceptibly. He interjected smoothly, diverting the conversation to his own upcoming architectural project, effectively eclipsing her moment of professional triumph. Later, he'd feign innocence, claiming he was simply proud of her. Genevieve, standing amidst the glittering crowd, felt a profound desolation. The pain was not a sharp, sudden agony, but a slow, continuous bleed, an internal laceration that never had the chance to heal. She could not articulate it, for it was woven into the fabric of their intimacy, disguised as concern, as intellect, as love. She was perpetually performing, not just for the world, but for Victor, desperate to avoid the chill of his disapproval, the subtle withdrawal of his presence. Her strength, once a source of pride, had become a prison, compelling her to endure the slow, torturous dismantling of her sense of self, a pain she felt utterly incapable of sharing. Her love had indeed become a casket, sealing her vibrant spirit within the confines of unspoken suffering. The archetype Genevieve embodies is fundamentally that of the perpetually discounted heroine, one whose burgeoning animus, her assertive, intellectual, and professional drive, is systematically undermined and eroded by a narcissistic projection from her partner. Victor, consumed by his own ego and deep-seated insecurities, projects his need for absolute control and intellectual superiority onto Genevieve, effectively transforming their relationship into a constant battleground for her self-worth. This dynamic illustrates a profound lack of individuation on Victor's part, as he is unable to integrate his own shadow aspects of inadequacy, instead choosing to diminish another to elevate himself. The pervasive theme here is the psychological devastation inflicted by subtle, insidious emotional abuse, where love becomes a weapon used to control and invalidate. This character's silent torment highlights the plight of those who internalize the subtle criticisms and dismissals of a partner, leading to a profound sense of self-doubt and a constant state of hypervigilance. If you recognize the shadow of Genevieve's experience within your own life, know this: the constant bracing, the perpetual flinching, is a profound call from your inner self for liberation. You are navigating a landscape where the ground beneath you is constantly shifting, and your very essence is being eroded by invisible forces. This is not love. It is a profound misalignment that demands your attention. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, wisely stated, "No man is free who is not master of himself." True mastery begins with recognizing the chains, however subtle they may seem. Your first and most crucial step is to engage in deep shadow work, exploring the parts of yourself that have been told they are too much or not enough. What truths have you suppressed to maintain a fragile peace? What desires have you extinguished to avoid disapproval? Begin to trust your own discernment again. Your intuition, dulled by years of subtle gaslighting, is a powerful compass. Listen to the quiet whispers of discomfort, the persistent feeling of unease that signals something is fundamentally wrong. This is a journey of reclaiming your self-worth, understanding that true love elevates, it does not diminish. Engage in practices that reaffirm your intellect, your creativity, your unique contributions to the world. Seek out voices and relationships that truly celebrate your strengths and acknowledge your vulnerabilities without judgment. Dale Carnegie's principles, though often applied to external interactions, hold profound wisdom here. Your innate value is not contingent on another's approval. Learn to articulate your boundaries, not as demands, but as declarations of self-respect. This will feel terrifying at first, for the ingrained patterns of appeasement are deeply etched. But with each small act of self-affirmation, you begin to dismantle the casket, releasing the vibrant spirit within. Your strength is not found in enduring silent pain, but in courageously confronting the truth of your experience and demanding a love that honors your wholeness. What would you think if I told you that for countless women, the deepest sorrow isn't born from a single betrayal, but from the slow, insidious realization that the love they once cherished has become an empty vessel, a beautifully crafted illusion that offers no true connection, only a desolate echo of what could have been. This is the profound anguish of emotional abandonment within a seemingly intact relationship, a chilling emptiness where shared vulnerability is replaced by a profound, unbridgeable distance. It is the pain of feeling utterly alone while physically together, a silent grief that love has become a casket, holding not a deceased passion, but the very essence of a woman's unacknowledged longing and the truth she cannot, dare not, express. Anastasia, a brilliant astrophysicist, found her world intricately woven with the quiet certainty of equations and the boundless wonder of the cosmos. Her mind, a galaxy of theories and observations, sought to unravel the universe's deepest secrets. Yet, her personal life, particularly her decade-long marriage to Marcus, a pragmatic and successful corporate lawyer, was a constant, unsettling enigma. Their life together was meticulously ordered, a testament to efficiency and societal expectation. They lived in a beautiful home, attended the right social functions, and presented a picture of dignified contentment. But beneath the polished surface, a vast, silent chasm had opened between them. The chasm had not appeared suddenly, but had widened inch by painstaking inch, like a slow-motion geological shift. In the early years, Anastasia had delighted in sharing her scientific breakthroughs, her eyes alight with the thrill of discovery. Marcus would listen, nodding politely occasionally offering a dismissive, "That's interesting, darling," before swiftly pivoting the conversation to the intricacies of his latest legal brief or the burgeoning value of their investments. He never explicitly forbade her from speaking of her work, but his disinterest was a more powerful deterrent. His eyes would glaze over, his attention would drift, and a subtle tension would fill the room, subtly communicating that her world, her passions, were irrelevant to his. It was not a grand rejection, but 1,000 tiny, dismissive gestures, each one a pinprick to her intellectual spirit. Anastasia, a woman accustomed to the rigorous demands of scientific inquiry, found herself instinctively analyzing this emotional disconnect. She tried different approaches, simplifying her explanations, focusing on the broader implications of her research, even attempting to feign interest in his legal cases in the hope of reciprocity. Nothing worked. His responses remained polite, detached, and utterly devoid of genuine engagement. Her attempts at emotional vulnerability met the same impenetrable wall. When she spoke of her anxieties about a challenging project, he would offer logical, detached solutions rather than empathetic understanding. When she shared a quiet moment of personal joy, his response would be a perfunctory nod, his gaze already elsewhere. He was present in body, but absent in spirit, his emotional connection a faint, distant signal lost in the cosmic static. He was unable to engage with her inner world, and thus projected his own emotional detachment onto her, subtly accusing her of being too analytical or too lost in her own head when she tried to bridge the gap. The profound isolation grew, even in the intimacy of their home. Anastasia would lie awake at night, the silence beside her a heavier presence than any sound. She yearned to share the exhilaration of a scientific breakthrough, the quiet contemplation of a complex problem, the small vulnerabilities of a day lived. But Marcus remained in his own orbit, seemingly content in his emotional self-sufficiency, or perhaps simply unaware of the vast landscape of her inner life. Her attempts to initiate deeper conversations were met with a polite stonewalling, a deflection, or a change of subject. He was never cruel, never overtly unkind, but his emotional absence was a constant, gnawing ache. She found herself living a parallel life, her intellectual and emotional needs unmet, the vibrant tapestry of her inner world unseen and unacknowledged. The pain was in the lack, the absence of shared laughter that truly connected, the void where empathetic understanding should have been, the silent plea for witness that went unheard. She was married, yet profoundly unpartnered. It was the crushing weight of unreciprocated longing, the quiet despair of a soul starved for genuine connection while in the closest of human bonds. Her love had not died in a dramatic flourish, but had slowly, imperceptibly, withered away, leaving behind a hollow shell, a casket of unspoken grief. The archetype Anastasia embodies is that of the disregarded seeker, one whose profound need for intellectual and emotional connection is met with profound emotional absence. Her anima, the receptive and feeling function, is starving in a relationship where the masculine principle, Marcus's often unintegrated animus, is rigid, detached, and unable to engage with depth beyond the superficial. Marcus, in his own journey, projects his underdeveloped emotional capacity and fear of vulnerability onto Anastasia, subtly labeling her intellect as a barrier to intimacy, rather than recognizing it as a gateway. The central theme here is the devastating impact of emotional abandonment within a relationship that, on the surface, appears perfectly functional. This character's silent suffering illuminates the silent crisis of those who are physically present with a partner but emotionally adrift, their deepest longings and authentic selves utterly unseen. If you find yourself in Anastasia's world, navigating the quiet desolation of emotional abandonment, know this: your longing for deeper connection is not a flaw, but a testament to the richness of your soul. The pain you carry, unseen and unacknowledged, is valid, and it demands your compassionate attention. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your strength lies not in enduring the void, but in bravely confronting it and choosing to fill it with your own self-generated validation and connection. This is a crucial phase of individuation, recognizing where your authentic needs are being denied and taking responsibility for meeting them. Begin your shadow work by acknowledging the profound grief for the connection that never materialized or that has withered. Allow yourself to feel the sadness, the anger, the frustration that has been suppressed. This is not about blaming another, but about validating your own emotional truth. Seek out spaces and relationships where your intellect is celebrated, your emotions are witnessed, and your unique perspectives are genuinely valued. This might mean cultivating deeper friendships, joining communities of like-minded individuals, or engaging with mentors who truly see you. It is about actively creating a life that nourishes your soul, independent of a partner's emotional capacity. Reclaim your voice, not in confrontation, but in courageous self-expression. Journal your thoughts, pursue your passions with renewed vigor, and allow your inner light to shine, regardless of whether it is reflected by another. The true power lies in realizing that your worth, your vibrancy, and your capacity for profound connection are inherent, not contingent on external recognition. This journey of self-reclamation is not about saving a relationship, but about saving your magnificent self. As you begin to nurture your own inner world, the casket of unspoken pain begins to dissolve, replaced by the profound, quiet strength of self-possession and the boundless potential for authentic connection, whether within your existing relationship or in the freedom that comes from choosing yourself. The climax of this journey ends not with a dramatic confrontation, but with a profound sense of emotional release, a letting go of the desperate need for external validation, and a peaceful inner rebirth. It is the realization that your worth is an intrinsic flame, not a reflection in another's eyes. It is the quiet understanding that the deepest love you can cultivate is the one you extend to yourself, allowing your authentic self to breathe, unfettered by the expectations or limitations of others. In this stillness, in this profound acceptance, lies the true alleviation of the pain that love once turned into a casket. You are not defined by what others fail to give you, but by the magnificent depth of what you discover within. Your pain is a catalyst, a sacred messenger urging you towards your own liberation, your own radiant wholeness. Trust in the quiet strength of your spirit, for within you resides an unyielding resilience, a capacity for joy, and a wisdom that will guide you through any darkness. Embrace your own journey of becoming, for it is the most empowering act of all. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and share this video with others to spread positive values in life. The end. Thank you for listening.